Happy Monday. It is Lipedema Awareness Month. Let's turn my lights on. I'm expecting a few today, so I'm just going to wait for those to get a little bit of time logging in here. If you're joining me today, please let me know if you can see and hear me rambling on the other end here. And make sure my volume is up. I think that it is. Perfect. Okay. Got a couple of you here. I'm just going to check on Facebook land. I shared this event in a number of places today. Lipedema. It is Lipedema Awareness Month, and this is a pretty big topic of discussion. I have a whole group, for those of you that are not aware, dedicated to this order. And I want a few facts today. I'd like to spread a little bit of awareness, but I'd like to get into, more importantly, like any condition that I talk about, what can you do? What power do you have within your two hands to manage whether it's symptoms that you're dealing with, whether you're trying to get into better shape. There's all kinds of viable options. And with something like lipedema, which we're going to start talking about shortly here, if someone is joining me, I can see a couple of you on the other end. Just let me know if you see and hear me on that end. Lipedema is, believe it or not, it is as prevalent and as common as diabetes. 1 in 9, some say 1 in 11, some say 1 in 7, but the most common number, if I had to give you one, is that 1 in 9 women primarily affects women. Not that it doesn't affect men. We're going to get into that as well. But it is a loose connective tissue disorder. My group is called Vibration for Fat Disorders, and a lot of people wonder, well, why do you call it a fat disorder? Thank you, Gina, for letting me know. When you have something wrong with you, or you feel like there may be something wrong with you, we don't always know what it is. That's why we go to medical professionals for diagnoses. Unfortunately, with lipedema itself, not lymphedema, there is a difference, but it is possible to have both. Lipedema is not as recognized, and in 2022, I believe, yes, 2019, there was a team of 22 people that established the standard of care for lipedema. So, a lot of people in this community were looking very forward to this finally being recognized as a condition in the US. That's not the case in Canada or other areas of the world necessarily yet. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the level of care or knowledge surrounding this condition has improved dramatically since 2019. So it's very frustrating for those of you that I work intimately with in my group, and for those of you that book one-on-ones with me, when you have what let's call it painful fat, or you're doing everything right and you're gaining weight, or you can't lose weight. It's disproportioned. You've got really large legs, but a really small torso and upper body, or the other way around. So lipedema, from a visual perspective, is, there's excessive collection of size in an area of your body, but it is generally symmetrical. So it's both legs or both arms. The difference between lipedema and lymphedema, hello, Maria, thanks for joining me, is that lymphedema is an abnormal accumulation of excess fat. So there's something wrong with you as far as a condition that is causing your body to retain fat. And with lymphedema, it's more related to where the lymphatic fluid is pooling or collecting due to, perhaps trauma or something that's impacted your immune system. Now, because, sluggish fat that is not, dissipating from your body as it normally would, it can cause issues and actually stem and cause lymphedema. So for those of you that are dealing with lipedema, you know what I'm talking about as this condition can progress. And there's a lot of comorbidities in this community too. A lot of people are dealing with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, Hashimoto's, all kinds of blood and heart deficiencies. When you think of the word lipedema, the second part of it is edema. So for those of you that are dealing with related orders, the sad part of this condition and why I love to advocate the month of June is all about lipedema awareness. I myself became aware of this condition 6 years ago at a conference. I was very, very fortunate in that I got to be exposed to some of the best, most informed professionals pushing the research and the knowledge forward in this community. One of those being Dr. Karen Herbst. I've also been blessed to spend some time, and there's interviews on this on my page with Catherine Seo. A lot of these folks are familiar with Life Pro products and use them as well. Why are Life Pro's products so amazing for the condition lipedema? As I said, lipedema is very unknown. There's a lot of fat shaming and demoralizing and just a lot of misunderstanding that, you know, contributes not just to you know, the physical stress that you're already dealing with because of the condition, but the mental health. You know, there's nothing worse than, you know, I have women in today's world that walk right into their doctor's office. They've got the standard of care printed out. Some of them even have diagnosis from a qualified doctor. Not everyone can give a diagnosis for this condition, and it varies by state. Vascular surgeon is a very common one, but not every doctor is familiar with this, let alone are they in a position to offer a diagnosis. And unfortunately, the downside of that is the care. And this is where I really want to appeal to those of you, maybe you have lipedema, maybe you think you have lipedema. But the reality is that the self-care piece, the symptoms that come with dealing with lipedema can be anything from weight gain, it can be pain, it can be fatigue, it can be just a whole gamut of different things. You can develop lymphomas, little lumps and bumps that are ultra painful, and it just affects your quality of life. Even if you do have a diagnosis, even if you do have a doctor that is providing you a care plan, you're the one that's got to do the work. Nobody's going to do that self-care for you. And many in my group, I'm going to be bold and I'm going to guess probably 85% in my disorders group do not have a diagnosis. And for those of you that have had a good experience, gotten a diagnosis, your benefit company's on board, great. But it's impossible sometimes to seek the care tools that could provide so much relief with some of these conditions if you do not have a diagnosis. So there's this vicious circle for folks in this community, not just lipedema. There's a bazillion other sub-conditions. Durkheim's disease is another one that, you know, isn't so common as far as I'm concerned, but it is still also considered a rare disorder. And most people are walking around the majority of their lives living with these conditions and haven't run into a medical professional that's even aware they exist. So self-care is on you guys, whether you have a diagnosis or not. And it doesn't mean that you need to spend $80,000-$90,000 on medical grade compression or massage devices. There's a lot of self-care tools that Life Pro provides. And they bring me and Amber and Roseanne on board to show you how to use these tools, regardless of the label, whether it's lipedema, whether it's lymphedema, maybe you're dealing with MS, fibromyalgia. You know, it's rarely one thing. But with lipedema, the big thing is weight loss and care management of the symptoms that you are dealing with. So if you're moving and feeling better, you know, the self-care and the exercise and the other goals that you may have become more possible. So I am a very big advocate of vibration plates. The Fat Disorders Resource Society also recommends vibration plates as a low impact activity. Why a vibration machine, Debbie? When you move, lymph moves. If you've seen any of my sessions, I've discussed this in the past, but when you're dealing with a disorder that causes pain, or you're carrying extra weight, maybe you're dealing with arthritis, sometimes the moving to the point where it helps us burn calories or function better is just not possible. Maybe energy's lacking. So, you know, a vibration plate is a really easy way to get total body lymph movement. And how you use a vibration plate for lipedema there's no setting, there's no perfect model, there's no, it really, like any condition I talk about, it boils down to where you personally are physically starting at, what your goals are, what is it that you want to accomplish, and you personally, because it's on you to put in the time. It's consistent use that's going to get you to the benefits, especially the long-term stuff, bone density, weight loss, strength, some of these other things. But short term, the huge advantage of incorporating a vibration plate, or if you have one and it's collecting dust, it's a very easy way to get lymph moving, get some oxygen going in your system, boost the energy, boost the mood, whether it's just to improve the quality of your day or to get you on a path to a longer health and fitness goal. A vibration plate is the bar none most encompassing, easiest way to get the lymph moving regularly. When you're dealing with a condition like lymphedema, and I'm going to come back for questions, because I'm expecting, if you're joining me today and you suspect you have lipedema, or you have lymphedema or lipedema, and you have a treatment plan, or you've been outlined a care path with share your experiences. Part of what I wanted to do today is for those of you that weren't aware and that are joining me, or suspect there's maybe something going on personally or someone you care about. I want those of you that know what this is not unicorns and fairy tales. This is a real condition that, as I said, potentially 1 in 9 women are. Could you imagine if the lipedema community had the same support that you have access to for education and support that diabetics do? Same number, 1 in 9. So I'm going to move to my machine now. I always prefer to use my machine barefoot. If you are dealing with foot issues, I'm not going to do a whole routine today, but I do want to keep talking about some information, and I'm going to show you some examples of just some ways today to start managing symptoms. So, whether you have a diagnosis or not, if you suspect you have lipedema, you struggled your whole life, you've got painful fat, or you're doing all the right things and it's just not helping, maybe you have lipedema. Okay, you didn't know yesterday what you're going to know today. So when you're dealing, like I say, with a condition like lymphedema, one of the big things that my group members deal with is pain, and it's hard to imagine going for a walk, going to the gym, doing anything terribly taxing, because you're going to pay for it. So I mentioned just a couple seconds ago, using a vibration plate for lipedema means different things to each of you. You're all individual people. But the main reason you want to start using a plate, if you have one, or consider if you don't, is when you move, lymph moves. So if you are lacking mobility, if you have poor range of motion, the thought of what I'm doing right now scares the heck out of you and has deterred you from using your plate. I do many, many sessions seated on a stool. Sometimes it's just a lazy way for me to get some lymph moving and relax my legs if I've been using them more than I should throughout the course of the day. For those of you that lack mobility, you have a fear of falling, your range of motion isn't the greatest, you can absolutely start seated, and you can see physically that I'm moving. I would prefer, if you are dealing with pain, from a settings perspective, I always show all of my sessions in oscillating movement. There's always 3 components. What type of movement? You got to understand what type of machine or motion that you are looking at moving before you even start talking about speeds or levels, because they're not universal between movement styles. Oscillating is my preferred coaching movement because it's most functional. It's how you move across the floor. And for the purposes of today's session with lipedema and getting lymph moving, oscillating offers a much higher amplitude value than pulsation, lineal, that type of movement. So you're always in control. If your feet are really close, you're moving less. If your feet are really wide, you're moving more. So you have to determine what feels good to you. And for those of you, I see these posts all the time. Oh, I was so sore for 2 days and my knees and my legs hurt. I don't understand why. I just did the jog position for 10 minutes. Keep in mind, if you're coming from a chronic place and you're dealing with issues, when's the last time you went for a jog? I know it might feel good on the vibration machine because it's a lot of movement. It feels like a massage itself, but it's the maximum amount of impact that you're exposing yourself to. Start conservatively with your feet in the middle and couple that with a mid to faster speed in oscillating. So today I'm using a Rumblex and I'm set at about the 35 speed range, 35 to 40, somewhere like that. If you're dealing with a mini or the waiver, I would like you in the 60 to 70 range. I think you'll find with less amplitude, the feet closer, and a faster speed, it's going to feel a little smoother. And if you are dealing with pain and fatigue, and you're looking at trying this as a symptom management tool, which I hope you do, 1 to 2 minutes as needed throughout the course of the day when you're starting out. So I want to get more done in less time. Longer and longer is not necessarily going to give you more benefit. And if you're just starting to become active or you're dealing with chronic issues, I want you using it more frequently, shorter sessions. So for those of you that lack range of motion, there's a very easy way while you're seated to also incorporate just a little bit more upper body. I want you to lean forward and either place your hands on your knees. We're locking up our arms. You'll feel now that our hand is connected with the knee, the movement transfers, okay? You'll feel a little bit in the neck and the shoulders. Play with your angles. If you do any lymphatic massage now, lymphatic massage is manual, is very light. The lymph vessels just below the surface. So, perhaps you're doing, this kind of work, as part of your self-care, or you're doing dry brushing. This is where we can combine the things that you're already doing, just add your feet to the plate. Or if the range of motion and stability are there, do it standing on the plate. All you're doing is adding more lymph and circulation to the equation. And it's a great way to reduce time. But for today's topic, it's about getting relief quicker, getting you moving and feeling better in a short period. I want to give you energy, not take it away. And everybody's a little different. But if you go too long, which is going to be an individual thing, you might deplete the energy that you have. So it's going to take you a little bit of experimenting. I'd rather you do another session in an hour or two for a minute or two than go too long and not be able to do anything, if that makes sense. Another very popular tool that I want to talk about, if you've never seen one of these before, this is a massage gun. And LifePro sells a few of these. So with a massage gun, many of you that are not aware in the lipedema community of the benefits of a massage gun, I don't know where you've been. My whole launch in the Facebook world and my page started with a wonderful meeting of Joel at LifePro and him introducing me. I had seen massage guns and I played with massage guns, but I had never really got to play with a lot of my users and my members with massage guns. So LifePro did a giveaway and I supported about 500 people in a very popular food lipedema group. And it's amazing where some of them have gone using a massage gun for their self-care. I just wanted to give you a little example of how you can combine some tools. And then I'm going to bring the massage gun later a little bit closer because I want to give you a little quick tutorial on how to use this for the painful conditions that we're dealing with today. Or if you're using it for, other areas of concern, maybe you've got inflammation from arthritis. There's a million reasons you can use a massage gun, but it's just like the plate. It's understanding how to apply the tool for your needs and your sensitivities. So vibration machine, very quickly before we add the gun or other tools to it, I want you, if you are using it from a seated perspective, be functional, be at a 90-degree or higher. I don't want you lower and struggling to get up out of this thing after the fact. But for those of you that are doing manual massage or perhaps you're using a gun with it, on the gun, just like the machine, I prefer a mid to higher speed range. Let the gun do the work. If you've never watched any of my massage gun sessions, that's my slogan. Let the gun do the work. If you're dealing with arthritic hands or grip strength issues, it's hard to apply this. You don't need to be the masseuse. Let the gun do the work. So while the feet are shaking, we're at a mid-speed, the feet are hip width apart or closer if you find that too uncomfortable. You can take your massage gun and just let it skim. And, we can work those quads a little bit more specifically while we're getting the added benefit of the lymph and the circulation from being a part of the plate. If your range of motion allows, right? Anywhere, sometimes when you're dealing with these type of conditions, it needs help moving it along, okay? And what I love about the gun and some of the other tools I'm going to talk about next is, if you are dealing with fatigue and weakness and things like this, any tool that you can do to get more movement of that tissue throughout your body, versus, this will last a lot longer than your hands will manually, okay? I think I'm going to switch gears quickly before I get into new tools and just give you my little massage gun tutorial quick. And it's easier to see this up close. So for those of you that are still joining me, if you are dealing with sluggish lymph, today's topic is lipedema. One of the things that is common with this condition, especially with Derkham's disease, is lymphomas. So they're these little fatty, hard lump deposits. I have seen bodies with hundreds of these. Hi, Kim. Thank you for joining me. Kim, perfect timing because Kim's covered in these things that I'm talking about. Some can be very painful. Some can be have to be surgically removed, and sometimes they grow back. So that's another vicious cycle we'll talk about, and I've talked about in other segments. But with your massage gun, turn it up to a mid speed, just like the vibration machine. The slow speed is very choppy, very throbbing, like hitting you hard, and that's not the goal of a massage gun. For lymphatic movement, I want you literally, you see how I'm holding the gun just slightly away as opposed to pressing into it. Okay, with this condition, lipedema, many of you are prone to bruising, way more than the average user. And I get these videos and posts and messages from people saying, what did I do? I only used my massage gun. It felt so good. I used it for 5 minutes and you're all black and blue. It's because you're drilling in with this gun. If you're a new user and you're just starting this out, just get used to how it feels. Play with the speeds, play with the pressure, play with the tips. There's lots of different tips. 99% of the time I'm using the sponge ball, but there are some fascia shaped tools. There's some pointy tools. There's little, it depends on the area that you're trying to work. But for this demo, let's pretend that I've got a large lymphoma in this area. This is for my rock stars and my experimental crowd out there, but I know it might sound crazy that you would want to apply something like this to a painful lump on your skin. But if you know what I'm talking about, and those of you that are dealing with these, think like a cinnamon bun. Work the skin around the lump. Get the circulation and the lymphatic movement going. You don't have to touch it. You'll know when you're ready to apply direct pressure. But again, I'm just skimming. I'm trying to give you a good view here. I'm just skimming. I'm not pressing in, especially on areas where you don't have as much cushion. You might find if you're doing the legs and you've got some, you might be able to apply a little bit more pressure, but you certainly don't have to, okay? Lymphatic vessels, again, they're located just below the surface of the skin. So if the goal is just to get that lymphatic kind of kick-started and moving, a massage gun is not better or equal to a vibration machine, but it's the perfect complement. Our body loves vibration. Lymph loves vibration. And but sometimes you're not home. Maybe you go to a job or you travel and you can't be on your machine 10, 15 times a day like I would like you to be. So this is a great take with you tool to manage symptoms throughout the day. If you've got some trouble spots you've been working on to keep the good work going. And once things start moving and flowing better, there's a few common things that are common to new users in general when we're adding vibration to our self-care. But in this community, I want to highlight one of them. I get lots and lots of questions about, Debbie, I was up peeing 5 times last night. I've never peed so much in my life. When you start moving lymphatic fluid, and if you've noticed sometimes within the course of even your first session, a huge depletion of swelling, it's got to go somewhere. And 9 times out of 10, it's coming out in the toilet later on. So if you are over massaging, it feels good when you're doing these things. But if you find you're moving a lot of lymph, like I've seen 10, 11 pounds in a day, at a trade show of just going to the washroom. Make sure you're hydrated, give your body, whatever nutrients, electrolytes, salts that you need to replenish as well, but expect it. So if you're doing lots and lots of trips to the bathroom, back off on your duration or how often you're using the machine just for the first week. If you don't want it waking you up, but that's a really, really common thing. The bruising is another really common thing. And also using it on, I see bruises on legs in this community, people using the vibration plates. That to me is an indication that you're standing too wide. For those of you that are members of my group or have seen some of my sessions here, I just know by the way that you ask a question. And besides too long, too wide is the most common. It's just what we see in the books, and that's what we see online. But that doesn't mean it's the best starting point for everyone. There is no best way to use a vibration machine, just like there's no best way to work out at the gym. It's a very personal thing. So if you're dealing with these conditions and you're prone to bruising, bring the amplitude in. The amplitude is feet closer on the machine. Okay, that's how much it's moving you. And on your gun, it's how much the gun is moving. So you want more amplitude. Keep it closer away from you and let it hit you versus you start right in on the skin and press. So less amplitude means less impact, less movement, okay? And couple that with a mid to high speed range. It's going to be smoother and more comfortable. This is also a very common new user thing when you first adding vibration and vibration plates in particular is, why am I so darn itchy? I'm so itchy. I've never felt so itchy. Itchiness is a common thing for everybody starting vibration plates. Not everyone experiences it, but it is very common. And things are moving. If you've had sluggish lymph for a long time, and fat deposits that have been sitting there for decades, these things are full of toxins. And once they start moving and flowing through your system, yes, that itchiness is very common. It just may be more prominent when you're dealing with these types of conditions. If you have POTS is a condition, POTS, I want you to be extra cautious. You tend to have, some of you have an elevated histamine response to activity in general. It's not just a vibration plate or a massage gun thing, but because more is happening in less time with these types of devices, that's the goal. They speed things up and make it easier for you to get the benefits. So if you are prone to a histamine response, you're breaking out in hives, you're itchy beyond belief, you may have overdone it. Shorten your durations. I can't stress this enough, guys. Just because you got a preset of 10, 15 minutes doesn't mean that's the best starting point for you, especially if it's symptom management. Not everybody's starting on this to work out. A lot of this is symptom management, a minute or two more often versus long 1 or 2 sessions. So if you are dealing with that, you may want to take an antihistamine or whatever steps you would normally do to prevent that. If this happens to you, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those of you dealing with POTS, it could happen to you going for a walk for too long. So just expect it to happen sooner on the vibration machine and take those same steps. Now, what I will say about the itchiness, the pins and needles, however severe, usually within a couple of weeks of regular, consistent use, I can't nag you enough, those symptoms will tend to dissipate. But if you take a big break, you go on vacation for like a week and come back and start using your machine again, you'll notice it returns ever so slightly. So it's a good thing. To what degree is based on your own sensitivity, how much accumulation you have on the inside. So, and another little good tip with your self-care, most of you are doing it already, keep the skin hydrated. You're shaking it about, you're rubbing it, you're massaging it. If you're in a dry climate or you're just prone to dry skin, make sure that you keep the skin as well hydrated, not just what you're drinking as well. So a couple of other tools I want to talk about very briefly. I need some coffee. And there's too many benefits to talk about all the benefits all these tools offer. I'm going to keep it in the wheelhouse of lipedema and the lymphatic system and the symptoms we're dealing with. So as I talked about massage guns, I wanted to just show you really quick different tips. Okay, there's lots of different variety in here. I know a popular one in this community is the fascia tool. It looks like a little spatula to a better degree. The smaller the gun, there's never one perfect gun. I like a smaller style when I'm dealing with a lot of my seniors or for people that have grip strength issues because it's a smaller thing to hold. But the smaller the gun, the less the packaging and the less components that tend to come with it. So if you're wanting one with lots of tips and varieties, look for a more encompassing model and compare those online. If you're looking, it's just a popular one in this community. My favorite is the big round ball, which is a standard one with most guns out there. So the next thing I want to move on to is compression. Compression garments, and this is just one example. These are adjustable in a number of ways, Velcro-wise. They have heat, but these are what I would refer to as an air compression garment. LifePro's got a ton of varieties. They've got just booties. The Axis ones inflate. They go all the way up on the hips and the glutes. For those of you dealing with self-care and dreaming of owning the $80,000, $90,000, versions of these, what if you never get a diagnosis? Why should you continue to suffer every day when I think the most expensive pair of these on LifePro's site is about $600 on the Axis on the Pros. But I mean, the booties, they're under $100 for the calves. These are lithium chargeable. For those of you that are agonizing and sitting on these long car trips and can't move, when we move, lymph moves. When we're not moving, things start backing up, and it can be it can knock you out for a week with the symptoms it can create. That's how severe some of these conditions can be in this community. So a lot of these tools are accessible to you now. Many of them are less of an investment than the deductible on your medical plan. And going through your medical plan very much is dependent on that diagnosis. So for those of you that are out there suffering, waiting for that diagnosis, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get access to better care. So now you've got the diagnosis, maybe your medical company doesn't cover such devices, or maybe, it's going to be 6 months to a year before you get an appointment with that specialist to get the prescription. So do what you can now. No one's going to do the self-care for you. And don't, what's another thing? I have to say this properly so I'm not upsetting folks, but don't believe everything you're told. I've been in this community now 6 years as an advocate and supporting specifically with a lot of LifePro's tools. And, you can lose weight. You can tolerate heat. We're going to get into light therapies next. There's lots of things I've been told that you can't do when you have lipedema, but very rarely am I given, a healthy, pile of research explaining to me why. So even though you have lipedema, you are not your condition. Or if you suspect you have Derkham's disease, it doesn't define who you are. And no one's going to do the self-care for you. So there's lots of tools out there for what, like I say, you may spend on your deductible. You could probably have 3 or 4 in your house right now and start moving and feeling better. The great advantage that a lot of LifePro's tools offer you is the self-care piece. The results that I see, not just in the lipedema community, but in vibration plates in general, supporting home users, when you've got it at home, you've got the ability to use it really whenever you want. You don't have to get in a car, make an appointment, and go see some guy. When you've got these tools at home, you've got the ability to use them more frequently. Guess what? You're going to see better benefits. I'm here hopefully to light a little fire under your butt to help you get motivated and just give you the confidence to embrace some of these tools you may already have and understand how you can apply them to your benefits. So compression massage is an easy, no-brainer way to get that lymph moving. It's very soothing. It's a great way to end your day if you lay out on your bed or on your recliner and just get that the lower body return. Many of you struggle with extreme swelling in the lower extremities, especially if you're on your feet all day. And of course, I also combine these with the vibration plate, not at the same time. So if you are whether you're using medical grade now or you're considering or have the LifePro versions, like I said, there's several varieties out there. I would recommend, if time allows, a quick 2 to 3 minutes before you do this, just to kind of kickstart, get the total body lymph going, and a quick 2 to 3 minutes after to boost recovery, just get a little bit more lymph. I tend to get pretty lazy and lethargic after I've done a compression treatment, especially if I'm adding heat to it. So if I got other things to do, I love doing a couple minutes after, maybe even a quick squat just to fire up my energy levels if I got other things to get back onto. So massage can be performed in a number of different ways. And, when you're looking at these tools, I want you guys, most importantly, to be honest and realistic with yourself. Don't select something because I said it's the best thing to do. What would you actually do? I by far feel a vibration plate brings you the potential of more benefit, not just for managing symptoms, but if you choose to do some exercise stuff and work towards some benefits in that arena, you can progress with the vibration machine. You can do standing exercises. It can bear your weight. Again, it really depends on where you're individually starting and what the goals are. The compressions and the gun, the two massage tools we've talked about so far, are more of a, whenever you feel you need a fix, but they're a little bit more of a portable option. They're not going to give you the benefit of exercise, but if that's not who you are and you think you're never going to go there, but you can see yourself laying on the couch and doing the compressions, at least you're adding something to that self-care routine. I don't want you feeling hopeless. I don't want you feeling that this is how you need to be. You are in charge of your self-care, and there's lots of different ways that this can be easy for you if that's really what you're looking for. So the last one I want to talk about is a little bit of light therapy. Many of you have already embraced the benefits of different types of light therapy, red light being one of them, infrared being another, and this is where the debate may start with some of you, but red light is an ideal tool for all the reasons you'd look into red light therapy, whether it's for wrinkles or spots or anything skin surface. It's also an amazing tool for stimulating those lymphatic vessels just below the surface of the skin. So it's a very mild way to move the lymphatic vessels if you're coming from a place of recovery. Maybe you're healing from something. Maybe you do have extreme sensitivities. Red light is a very passive, very comfortable treatment that you can consider. Maybe you're dealing with other things like psoriasis or arthritis, or so you're getting multiple benefits in one tool. Infrared is another light therapy. It's available on the panels. You can also get infrared on it as its own thing in a blanket. Joel's come out with some amazing saunas in the LifePro team, Joel and Abe. There's, again, pick your tools wisely. What kind of space do you have? It's not always just, maybe you've got the checkbook to buy it all and get everything, but I want you to be real. I don't want you buying things just to sit there and collect dust. There's a lot of variety for a reason. One tool is never going to be for everything. So be realistic in your choices. With the infrared, there's been a stigma in the lipedema community for quite some time that infrared and heat is bad for lipedema. Well, I don't know if that's true, because there's just so many women, especially in the last 6 months to a year since I've been talking about this more. There's so many of you in my group that are taking advantage of the benefits of heat. You're losing the weight, you're managing the pain. Sometimes with heat therapies, if you had a poor experience or you have been advised not to, you need to keep exploring and experimenting. Just maybe 20 years ago you had issues with this technology and it didn't work, but maybe it works today. So I mentioned the heat thing because I do get some resistance from some of you. If you have low tolerance for heat, there's ways you can bring the setting right down. Maybe you're doing more frequent sessions, for shorter durations, but there are all kinds of healing and recovery benefits from using the infrared sauna technology. But I like to mention it also, many in this community struggle with the exercise piece. And I know many of you have the goal of losing some weight. The other stigma is that you can't lose weight with lipedema. I do not buy it. Food is a very big part of that equation. But some of these therapies can bridge the gap and get you active, get that lymph moving, where maybe perhaps other traditional things haven't been so successful. And none of this is your fault, guys. This is just a very misunderstood, very miscommunicated condition. So, information is knowledge or is power. And if you have these tools now, sometimes you just need a kick in the butt for me to get you motivated in using them again. If you are moving and feeling better and symptoms have dissipated and you're back on track, don't stop using them either. The maintenance piece self-care, that's kind of what it is it's the maintenance piece. But if you can kickstart and ramp up your routine now by incorporating some of the tools that you already have or are considering, I think in the long run, anything that you can do to boost and support the movement of that lymphatic fluid and the circulation, not only is it going to relieve symptoms, but it's going to help you climb those steps to some of those fitness goals that I know some of you are working honestly very hard at to achieve. This is not your fault. People just don't understand you. Life Pro understands you though. Okay, so yes, skimming works better for me. I want to go to questions here. I see I've got a few of you joining me. Let me see here. I have Gina, I have Dottie, I have Laura, I have Maria, I have Kim. Thank you for joining me, guys. As I said, it is Lipedema Awareness Month. You'll notice in the title that I've spelled it 2 ways. It really depends on what part of the world you live in. Just something else this poor community needs to be inundated with. In North America, we spell it Lipe. Overseas in Europe and Australia and New Zealand markets where it's a little bit more well known, let's put it that way, doesn't mean necessarily that the access to care is more relevant. They spell it Lipo edema. So just there's a reason I'm advocating for both parts of the globe here. How often to use the infrared blanket? It really depends, Maria. Again, everything I talk about, especially with chronic conditions, is a depends on you answer. So if you're just starting out, I would recommend, a moderate or low setting, and 15 to 20 minutes, see how you feel. If you're not such a good sweater, please don't be alarmed if you don't notice sweat within the first session, 2, even 3. There are conditions where people don't sweat. So if that's you need to be very cognizant, but sometimes it takes a session or 2 for your body to kind of get assimilated. I notice every season, because I'm seasonal with my sauna use as far as regular use. When it's cold, I'm in there all the time, but sometimes it takes me a session or 2 before I really start noticing the sweat. And then once I'm at that point, it's like 2 seconds in and I'm sweating. And I like to line mine with a towel, or I put on like a cotton or, hemp, something organic sweatsuit. Once you're in your sauna blanket, if that's what you're doing, or your sauna, have a glass of water or an extra towel. There's nothing worse than having to get out to go get something once you're all chill. But I'm finding a lot of folks, I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I am, if you haven't considered infrared heat, because heat's bad for lipedema, explore it. Find it. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. But how disappointing would it be if in 10 years you finally take me up on it and you should have been doing it all along? Many people are having awesome success, and it's not necessarily a weight loss thing either. Maria or anyone else joining me, for a lot of my, it's relaxing. It takes the pain away, so there's never any one reason to use any of Life Pro's tools, but there's usually 1 or 2 primary ones that drive you towards considering something. You realize all the added benefits, their side benefits, as I call them, after purchase and when you start playing with some of these things. So lipedema is not a death sentence. I have seen in the 6 years I've been working with this community some tremendous strides. But again, those that are successful are simply consistent in their self-care, whether that self-care evolves into exercise and fitness. There's other sessions I will be doing later in the month specifically to this. But again, it's very much where you are starting at personally. It's not a setting. It's not a mode. It's not a model. It's what you are able to do. And anytime you move, lymph moves. Maria says, Gina, do the red light products build collagen as well? Yes, there are some studies referring to the stimulation or the development of collagen. For those of you that were appealed by the wrinkling and those type of things, I think that's part and parcel with part of that. It also fires up the mitochondria in your cells. The mitochondria are kind of the powerhouse of your cells, and they're the worker bees. So if you can get them working more effectively, they're going to do their work and their jobs more effectively. So that's the bigger, whether that's producing collagen, whether that's, repairing, that's kind of the big benefit to red light. And it's very well tolerated. It's really, I hate saying this on camera, but it's true. You really can't overdo red light. right? Infrared, of course, you can overdo it because you get too hot and you have to get out at some point. But with infrared, your body, there's no point in going longer and longer and longer. If you've been using red light for a period of time, just like your vibration plate, mix it up. Take a break or a day or two off and give your body a chance to rest and reset. And what you may find if you're using it for pain or swelling, you might see benefits sooner. Very often, once your body gets adapted to light therapies, you don't need to use it as long. It takes what it needs, and anything above and beyond is just really feel good. So if you've been using it for a long time, we can get into maintenance and we're just maintaining things versus progressing. So be mindful of that and mix things up with that too. I use all three tools for fibromyalgia. Maria, fibromyalgia is a very common comorbidity with a lot of my users. And I could line up 50 of my members with fibromyalgia, and you're all completely different. So I'm glad to see that you're combining. And, sometimes your go-tos are more this or your go-tos are more that. Let your body guide you. The big question I haven't seen yet, I guess, that I was expecting is how often and how long can I do this? It depends on you. If it's easy to overdo the feel good stuff. And if you're feeling, a little sluggish or a little sore or even a little bit sick the next day, you're detoxifying. Anytime you're moving lymph and sweating or being active, you're detoxifying. So, sometimes if you're super, super toxic, you're coming from a procedure where you've been on a lot of medications or, just poor quality food could even do it. The air you breathe, sometimes we don't realize just because we're functioning and seem healthy on the outside, sometimes you don't realize until it kind of knocks you on your butt. So some people are very surprised and they get freaked out when they feel sick after or nauseous or like fluish almost after using not just a vibration machine, but a gun or a sauna. That's a sign that you don't stop. Obviously do your diligence if you're dealing with other health issues, but it's not uncommon when your body starts to detoxify that you start feeling the effects of that and stay hydrated and do all those things you're supposed to do. Well, other than that, you guys are all smart and obviously know everything. I have lots of this is the fourth year in a row. I think I've done a lipedema awareness session for the month of June, and I'm going to be doing other things this month, probably more specific to some fitness stuff. When you're dealing with co-conditions like Ehlers-Danlos and some of you are dealing with a lot of hypermobility, that's a very common thing in this community. And another reason the plates are so awesome, you do not need to move to burn those quads and those glutes out in a squat. So stay tuned. I will have another session posted up for next Monday, same time, same place on Life Pros pages. And I thank you for joining me. If you ever have any questions, you're watching this perhaps on a recorded basis or something you think about after the fact, tag me at Debbie with a Y. Sometimes the convo gets going and I don't always get the notifications. So make sure that you tag me at Debbie with a Y if you have any questions. I will also drop a link to some of the tools I mentioned today, and I'm going to drop a link to my group for any of you that are dealing with lipedema and weren't aware. I'm here every week, of course, with Life Pro, but I also have two specific support groups. You'll have to answer some questions. I don't just accept everyone, but specific to the lipedema and fat disorders community, as well as cerebral palsy. So I'll post those links in today's chat. Thank you for joining me very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Monday. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks, guys.